Guys, welcome to the Play to the Whistle podcast. Join with your usual hosts, myself Jesse, and with T. Kieran. How you guys doing?
Man, good. What you saying?
Good. Another good round of Premier League fixtures. Obviously, it's probably best to start off with the big game on Saturday, Chelsea-Liverpool. T. Obviously, you was at the game. What was your thoughts on the match?
I thought he was going to say City, to be fair, but no, the game was good, man. Obviously, it was good to finally get. Yeah, it was good to get to a game. First game in a while, so it was good to actually get to a match for once. But yeah, man, it was a good game. I thought no surprises with either team sheet as well. For both teams, there was no surprises. Obviously, there was all that talk before the game about Lukaku and Virgil van Dijk coming up against each other, and we expected that. So yeah, it was a good start to a game. The first 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes of the game, it was just like an old school kind of Liverpool Chelsea game. Tackles flying in, plenty of chances as well. But it was hard to judge how the game was going to turn out. I think before the game I said 2-0 to Chelsea, probably a bit biased, but at the same time as well, I thought it was promising from a Chelsea perspective. I'll start on Chelsea first. We started the game really well. I thought we were able to kind of keep composed and compact and utilize what we did against Arsenal in terms of using Alonso, using Reece James to try and feed the ball in, which I thought was what we needed to do. We know how Robertson plays and we know how Trent plays as well. The good thing about Liverpool was that obviously they can use a Van Dijk who's very good defensively to do a lot of the mopping up as well at the back, which he did. And it was we had plenty of chances, I feel like, in the first half, even for the goal. You look at the way that the goal was scored, brilliant corner in. I noticed with Liverpool as well that they do a lot of zonal marking from their defence, from their corner set pieces. And I think that's the only reason why potentially Havertz was given that much room to manoeuvre, to come into the box and get the goal. But a lot of people were saying, or some people were saying online, that obviously Alisson could have done better. I don't think he could have, because of the way that the flight of the ball went over him. It was just a very fluky kind of goal. I don't think Havertz meant that, but it was a fluky goal. It looked like he was flicking it on for someone to get their head on it as well. But we should have. I think when we went 1-0 up, we should have then looked at trying to get a second, because it's Liverpool. We know what they can do at Anfield as well. Crowd back in the stadium. We had a brilliant chance. I think it was Havertz could have played in Lukaku, and he didn't. He chose to shoot. And I think Mason Mount had a very good chance in the first half as well. Again, could have probably pulled it back and looked for Lukaku. He was unfortunate not to score, because I think he, it looked at the time anyway, it looks like he was going in. But, it was a decent first half. Obviously, then you get the penalty decision as well, which I said at the time, and I still stand by it, that it was harsh. But it's a red card, and that's the bottom line. That's the part of the law, the rules of the game, is that it's a red card. It's just disheartening, because I think in the FA Cup final against Leicester, I think it was Perez, very similar. The ball hits his knee. He does move his arm at the time as well to stop the ball from going past him, and I think Tielemans goes on to score. So it's kind of similar but different. But we can't rely on things like that to get 3 points at Anfield. We had plenty of chances in the first half to kill the game. We didn't take them. Brilliant penalty by Salah as well. I think when you see Salah step up for a penalty, he just puts all the power through it. So, I thought that was the right call from the ref. People are talking about he looked at a still image and all that stuff. It's all nonsense. End of the day, the rules are the rules, the laws of the game are the laws of the game. And it's a red card. Coming out, obviously, second half defensively, I thought, people say it's parking the bus. I just see it as another part of the game that sometimes you have to play. Sometimes people like to see attacking football. At this point, we had to choose to defend for 45 minutes, which we did well. Anyone who's a defender, I'm sure, Jesse, you've played defence before. That's part of the training that they get you to do, is to defend. So at the end of the day, that's what we got to do. Sometimes you got to defend games. But I thought we'd done well to keep Liverpool out. They had plenty of chances in the second half. Didn't expect anything less of them because I think that's what they try and do. You know, they literally on top of us. I think at one point Lukaku was playing centre back with the rest of them, but we had to do that. And I think getting a point at Anfield this part of the season, this early in the season, for me, did feel like 3 points at the end of it because we worked our asses off to get the point, which felt like 3 points. And like I said, getting a point at Anfield at this point in the season for me didn't feel like a draw. Didn't feel like a draw at all. But Jesse, I'll throw it to you. What was your thoughts on the game?
Yeah. I thought you lot played really well in the first half. Obviously done well to get the goal. And yeah, I think the chance that Mason Mount had was a really good chance. He could have squared it, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, it only just went wide, but obviously the square was on. And you lot done really well. I thought Reece James played really well before the red card. I thought Christensen and Azpilicueta were brilliant as well. They played really well. And obviously, once she was under the cosh in the second half, look, you got 10 men at Anfield. You're going to be behind the ball. You have to defend. That's just common sense. You can't really go out and like try and nick a winner. You can on a break, but you can't be stupid. So, and I think they defended really well. Mendy pulled off some brilliant saves, and I think it was a deserved point in the end. Really, the amount of pressure that they started to put on you in the second half, it's just about not losing at that point, man. But yeah, in terms of the red card, yeah, I agree with what you said. I think it's a red, man. Like, it could be kind of harsh, but he's standing on the goal line, moves his arm towards the ball. I know he can't really put it anywhere else, but if he's not there, it goes in the goal. So it's a red, really. Obviously, a good penalty. I know there's a bit of a little incident straight after the penalty, but that happens. These games are highly charged. So, but yeah, I think in the end, both managers would be happy with the point. I think really in games like that, you just don't want to lose, really, especially when it's this early in the season. What was your thoughts, Kieran?
Yeah, I hear that. I kind of echo what you said. Really, I'm not going to repeat too much. I know you guys have kind of covered it quite well. I think because it was obviously me that said the red card was harsh, but I think harsh in the sense of the rules are the rules, but it's a dumb rule because I don't think it's intentional. Personally, I just feel like when you're trying to reach the ball, whether you're on the goal line or wherever, you move your hand, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's just to try and open it up. So I think a lot of people understand it's a red card. It just felt harsh, like it wasn't like a man like punched it like out the goal or whatever. It hit his hands, and I felt like a penalty and a yellow card, like that kind of rule would make more sense because it kind of killed the game, really. You know what I mean? Like, you could have got the pen and scored or whatever. But listen, we're looking at champions elect here. The way that Chelsea played, I know it's only a few games into the season, but that's a good performance. Like, a lot of teams would have crumbled under the situations, and no one can run to me and say, it's like Liverpool of, it's not Liverpool of the team that won the league. They've been putting teams away recently, like against the Burnley and Norwich. They would have won that game. Do you know what I mean? So I think Chelsea did really well, and I think they'll continue that. Obviously, we'll talk about the transfer window a bit later, but they're looking good so far. It's a really good point early on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought, to be fair, I think Harvey Elliott played well again, and they had a few players that played well too. So I wouldn't, it's Chelsea, so them not winning the game is not the end of the world, and they didn't lose, so I don't think they'll be too discouraged with that, to be quite honest with you.
I know you mentioned Christensen, but he was my man of the match. But I think Mendy as well. I think in the second half there was 3 saves that I can just remember, and I think one of them was Fabinho. I can't remember the other two off the top of my head, but he done well to save them because if that was another goalkeeper in goal, I'm pretty sure we would have been talking about a Liverpool win, regardless of the defence that how we played. But I think Mendy was an unsung
You
hero.
mean Kepa, yeah?
I'm not saying no names, man, no names. But yeah, I think Mendy obviously unsung hero. To be fair, Kepa's been playing well under Tuchel, the games that he's played. But
Penalty shootout.
yeah, I think in terms of the way Mendy played, you can see why he's number one for Chelsea at the moment.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I did mention, he was brilliant. Agree. And big up Abdi. When I done that pod yesterday, I was saying that we picked a team of the week, and he was it's between him and De Gea for that position. But yeah, I think he's brilliant. But yeah, moving on to, I don't know if you could call it. You might as well call it a 6-pointer, to be honest, because I think they're going to be both down there. Newcastle, Southampton. Obviously, you finished 2-2. Don't know how you feel about that, Kieran. You're sitting both sides of the fence in this one. I know you like both teams, so
I feel about it.
How do you feel? How do you feel, man?
I feel like it was a good game. It was a good game of football. That's how I feel it.
What we want to know is who was you supporting?
Who was you rooting for, man?
Who was I supporting?
Did you have a half and half scarf?
This guy with the Bayern top. Did ever Bayern slapped up United a few times in the league, in the Champions League?
Listen. I got this on the cell, bro. I got it in the cell, bro. They're not my second team, bro.
Oh, that's Palace, isn't it?
Bro.
Listen, Palace. Well, we'll talk about that later at the transfers.
Yeah, Palace was alright, man.
Yeah, they're doing well, man.
Yeah, no, so what's your thoughts on the game?
Tell us about the game.
Just want to talk about the game. All right, relax. I was just gonna say, say Abdi for the obviously shout outs for the kits, trying to keep it continental. They might have pulled us out of Europe, but we're trying to have the shits. But no, look, it was a decent game of football. It's not the most exciting game. There was a lot of I think there was a lot of shots in the game from obviously I just watched the highlights, but listen, both of these sides are in trouble, a lot of trouble. You've seen it from Newcastle. The scoreline and the goal scorers typify Newcastle. Wilson again, good goals, offset, great goal. We thought they would have won it. But they did a very Newcastle thing for recent times. They concede. It's a silly penalty as well. I know I'm not going to try and steal your thunder, Jesse, but it's very similar to Pogba's tackle in the build-up to the goal. It's a pen, and it's like it's 90 minutes. Like, how are you not protecting, that lead? The defense is all over the place. I know, obviously, Dubravka's out. Woodman had a very good season for Swansea. And obviously he's not really at fault for the goals, but you're just kind of looking at them and you're a bit worried. Southampton played okay, like they played no better or worse than against United. I feel like I can't remember if it was the first or second goal, but there's a touch of fortune about it as well. The Eliusi's goal as well, but. Listen, it was a relegation battle. It was a 6-pointer. Both of those sides will definitely be scrapping. And again, the issue they've got, and I say this every year, anyone that talks football with me, when you've got teams like Arsenal, who are going to bounce back eventually, Burnley, I'm just looking at who's at the bottom there, Wolves.
Are they?
None of these sides will be... it's not my words, innit? But no, none of these guys are going to be in that scrap right at the bottom. As much as we banter, they're not really going to be in that scrap. So you've got to be a bit careful when you're looking at teams like Brighton, Brentford, all these sides picking up points early on. You want to be chasing them, and these sides, I haven't seen nothing from them. So it tells me that they've got the ability to go out there and get enough points to feel comfortable. So that was my view. So I wasn't supporting any teams. Both of them look like they're going to struggle. But I'll throw this one at Tito. What did you think of the result? And has that changed your mind on how you feel these teams might fare this season?
In terms of the game, like you said, it was kind of typical Newcastle. Yeah, I think when you get to that kind of stage of the game and you give away a penalty so late into the game, I agree. I think it was a penalty. I think I've rewatched it a couple of times, and I think it's a penalty. I think it's very. I think it's different
Definitely.
to Popper's. I think,
Yeah.
which I know Jesse's going to talk on, but I think there's more contact there. I don't think he gets any of the ball or anything like that. For me, it was a clear cut penalty. Just a sort of last ditch tackle from the cells. Like he doesn't really. It's kind of like I've got to do this, otherwise they're going to score, kind of thing. So, but I think you're right. I think Southampton. I think we've said on here a few times they are in trouble. They've sold over the years. They've sold a lot of their kind of big players, I suppose. Even if you go back to as far as Mane and beyond that as well. Theo Walcott, those kind of players, and Newcastle. We've spoken about them to the as much as we can, but I do think that they're two teams that will struggle this season. Like you said, there's teams around them, Brentford being one of them, who are picking up a couple of points, or Aston Villa as well. They can pick up a few points, I think. But yeah, in terms of the game, it was a typical kind of Newcastle game to an extent. They had spells where they played really well. Obviously, Callum Wilson back on the score sheet for them, but Southampton as well. Adam Armstrong's looking like a good player for them. I mean, he might get a few goals. He's not in the Danny Ings level for me, but yeah, I think that they're two teams that will struggle come the end of the season. But what's your thoughts, Jesse?
Yeah, I think they're going to both be down there, man, scrappy for their lives. And it's literally the players that scored the goals are the ones that will be saving them. If they stay up, it will be because of them players. See, Ward-Prowse steps up, set piece, King puts it away in the last minute for them to get the draw. And obviously St. Maximin and Wilson, it's just typical. They're the players that will save them clubs if they stay up. But I can't. They're in trouble. I think they're both in trouble, man, especially Southampton. I can't see that. I don't think that defence is good enough. I think it wasn't good enough last season, and they've lost players this season, and they're going to have to make. Or it's too late. Obviously, window's about to close. I don't think they're going to get anyone in now, and I can see them conceding quite a lot of goals this season. But I think the only thing that might save them is, Norwich look really bad. And some of those other teams, maybe a Watford, I don't see these teams really picking up a lot of points. That might be the only thing that saves them. And when it comes to them like facing each other, they might be able to beat the teams around them. But yeah, they're definitely in trouble, man. Neither have really had good windows either. I think Newcastle signed a striker today from Mexico.
Yeah, as a kid. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Santiago Munoz.
Yeah,
like the film, innit? But like apart from that, they've not really had a good. Obviously, they brought Willock in, but they didn't get. I don't think they got centre back. They needed one definitely. Yeah, they're in trouble. They're both in trouble.
I got a question, Kieran, for you. Kieran. So let's say Newcastle. Let's see if Newcastle go down.
We'll get there.
If Newcastle go down, how realistically will it be for them back up with Mike Ashley still there? I'm assuming Steve Bruce might not be there at that point. How realistic do you reckon it will be for them if they was to get relegated? Bearing in mind the Championship's a bit of a minefield to get out of as well.
They'll come straight back up with no problems because Mike Ashley is a lower level glazer. He just does what he needs to do to stay where he needs to stay. I think you have to remember as well with the Championship is so imbalanced that even when you look at the teams that tend to go up, Brentford aside, you get your Brentfords and your Swanseas where they play good football and then they come up. Wolves to a lesser extent, they had Peas. Leicester and Southampton, when they came back up, when they had all the issues, they played good football. They had they had better money, but they were struggling. Newcastle will just go. They'll going to choose my words carefully. They'll carefully pluck the players from the other teams, and they'll have the best. I mean, they've still got Dwight Gale, they've got Jacob Murphy, they've still got a lot of championship level players there, and they'll just go and just take the best championship players and come back up because it's going to be peanuts to them. They'll try and stay up for a season, but they've been doing this for years. Since when did Alan Shearer take over? Was that 2009? I feel like
It's been happening since then.
It was illegal for me to. Yeah, it's like back in the times, illegal for me to like go casino and thing. Like it's been going on for years, so it's just gonna keep going on. So yeah, they'll come back up, because they've got the resources to do that. That's how I see it. I don't know, Jesse. I'll throw it at you. I know. I reckon you agree with me, but what's your thoughts about if and when Newcastle eventually get relegated and them coming back up?
No, yeah, exactly what you said, man. Because Mike actually will open the wallet, innit? Because he will want to be straight back in the Prem, and they'll just cherry pick players from the teams around them in the Championship, and they'll come back. And if you look at their squad, they'll lose Saint Maximin, they'll lose Wilson, they'll keep the rest of those players. I think Matt Ritchie was with them the last time they was in the Championship as well, if I remember correctly. They bought him from Bournemouth when Bournemouth was still in the Premier League. So they'll even buy players from the Premier League to help them get back to the Premier League. So if they do go down, they'll come straight back up. Parachute payments. It's still a big gulf between clubs like them and a lot of the Championship, so I think they'll be fun. Yeah, moving on to the lunchtime kickoff from Saturday. It's pretty much expected, really. It was, I think even the scoreline was expected. There was no surprises at the Man City Arsenal game. Comfortable in the end for City. What was your thoughts on the game, Kieran?
I think you, man, called it before. I think when we all saw the team sheet, I had a conversation with someone anyway, but I feel there was I was just laughing because it was funny, because I was thinking, because they kept talking about the Arsenal United game where United won 8-2, and I was thinking it was going to be like that, because that is not an acceptable team or lineup to send against Man City. Like, it's just criminal. I've never been a fan of Xhaka. I think he's good for Switzerland. For Arsenal in big games away from home, can't trust him. He is a flight risk. Man City played okay, like they weren't at their best. Arsenal had a good start, but I think, as I called it before, I've seen, obviously Abdi's made a comment about Arteta. He's so far of his depth. Like, he just and it's his standard. Like, it's his first management job, and it looks like it. He looks like when you haven't played Football Manager for 5 years and you jump in and you think, I'm just going to play like sexy, attractive football, I'm going to line up how I want and play the champions, and you get slapped up. The red card's a red card. What's he thinking, getting that kind of tackle in the first half? And then I feel sorry for the youngsters, because I think I might have mentioned it last week, but I like Saka. I really like Smith Rowe. Like, they're good players. But when you put them in a position like that against a team like Man City, you're just killing them. Like, they just didn't have Odegaard. Again, I really like him as a player. I think when Arsenal get a more capable manager, and they'll get the most out of him, but what's he gonna do again? Pep plays like half of that team is midfielders. So what's Odegaard gonna do, playing a defensive role when he's clearly works further up the pitch? But look, City did what they needed to do. I feel like Pep took it easy on Arteta later on, because that should have been about 8 or 9. But man said, you know what, allow it. We're boys from back in the day. Let me, obviously Spanish thing and everything. So let me just chill. And yeah, man, that was my thoughts anyway. I think the scoreline says it all. But all about ET. What was your thoughts on the result, Arteta, the game?
The game, well, yeah, you summed it up nicely. Yeah, couldn't really see any other scoreline. Surprised it was only 5. Yeah, they're in trouble, Arsenal. I think before we banter Arsenal, and I've done it on here, I've done it on other podcasts, on social media, or whatever, bantered them, but generally they are in serious trouble at the
Consistent.
moment because they're just in trouble. They really are because you look at what is there to look at. Like there isn't anything coming out that club. You don't know what he's saying to them, sending them out there. I know it's City, so City is probably like an anomaly. They don't think they were expected to win against Man City, but
Man, just
it's
say
the
that.
way that they're losing games. It's the way they're losing games though as well. Like they're losing the
Yeah,
fashion that they're losing them in as well is mental. And for a Premier League team, when as we've all grown up and we've watched Arsenal at the highest of their heights, and we've seen them do the Invincibles and all of that stuff. Henri, Vieira, Bergkamp, Ian Wright, all of these players, and now we look at them and they do look like a mid-table team. Like this isn't even like a joke, or they look like a team that would struggle to make top 10. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to see them the way they are. It's embarrassing. I think Arteta has. I think there's international games after or before October. Sorry, just before that first week in October. I think there's a second set of international games then. I think Arteta's got until then. He's got the September, and they'll bring someone in October to steady the ship because he's not the guy to do it. He's had plenty of time now. The FA Cup probably brought him, in a worse way, brought him the time that he didn't actually need, and Arsenal fans probably didn't want him to have, because all it's done is prolonged something that he is clearly not capable of doing. But in terms of City, I'll lay off Arsenal. In terms of City, it was the usual from them. They didn't even have to get into like fifth gear. They just literally strolled the game. Yeah, it was just easy for them. It was just easy, and you look at them, and in terms of City, and obviously, just you mentioned it a few weeks ago, that they're always the front runners, and you can see why, because the way that Pep plays, like it's just different. It's just a different style of football that you don't really see in the Premier League. So we'll have to see who wins the title. But in terms of Arsenal, it ain't going to be them.
yeah.
What's your thoughts, Jesse?
Yeah, they're at sea, aren't they? And the ship's sinking.
No, they're sinking. They're sinking. They were at sea. They're sunk.
Yeah, it's not good enough from them. I'd be really worried if I was an Arsenal fan. They spent a lot of money this window too. I think they spent the most actually.
Yeah,
they spent the most money. Obviously, they're all transfers with potential. They didn't buy no one that can actually. Like they need, obviously Ben White can play in the team now. Lukonga has obviously played a few games, but they didn't buy no like experienced players that can come in and change the dynamic of that dressing room or anything like that. I think Arteta's lost the dressing room personally. The way he's handled several players, like the outgoings, even if you look at the Guendouzi situation, the situation with Ozil, they signed Saliba and he's not played a minute. I think they sent him back on loan to France. This situation with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, where he's come out on his Instagram and just basically saying, just free me, man. Let me go, man. You're not going to play me. Just let me go. And he tagged Arsenal as well. Players are tagging the club like in their stories on Instagram. It's a tragic mess. I think Arsenal have come. I think they've backtracked. They sent him to obviously train with the kids as well, but they've backtracked on all this now and said that he can fight for his place. It's all a mess, man. I think they signed the right back as well today. That apparently I was watching the deadline day coverage. Apparently he's not really a right back. Apparently he can just play there. I think he can play DM as well. They were laughing live on air about it. The presenters, they was actually having a laugh about it. Apparently he's offered to loads of Premier League clubs, and only Arsenal took him. So I think that tells you where they're at. It's just a shambolic mess, man. I think they definitely needed the international break. They needed to regroup. They probably just needed to get the hell out of there and play for their countries, or the ones that got selected, and see what happens for them in September. But I agree with you. I don't think it's October. I think he's got I think he's got the next 3 games, man. Or that
It's
would obviously
North.
lead to October.
Yeah.
I think he's got till
I was
that
gonna.
derby, and if he loses that game, I
Yeah.
think it's curtains because they'll turn.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was gonna ask you, man, how long he's got, because I think you're both right, really, because the North London derby is the penultimate game. I think the last game before the next international is, I'm just looking now. I think it was Brighton, but
Obviously, they got
I
Norwich.
feel like if they lose to Tottenham, how they lost to Chelsea or Brentford, particularly Brentford, they'll win that. I think Norwich could end up with a record like low points this season. So they but Tottenham in that loses that, and it's like more than, if it's like a proper like a Harry Kane's like banging in 2, pumping the fifth like to the crowd. It's gonna be untenable. Like they'll be protesting out like that even in the next day. He's gonna be in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble.
Yeah,
Just looking at Abdi's comment there as well about they sat back and watched Danny Ings join Villa. Tammy Abraham was offered to them, I believe, or there was talks about Tammy going there as well. So you kind of look at that and you think they've had the opportunity to get the right players in, or players that might suit what they're trying to do. Because I don't even know what Arteta's trying to do. Don't know what he's trying to get these guys to do. But signings like Ings or Tammy Abraham would have been perfect, in my opinion, for what Arsenal potentially might want to try and do. I don't know what your thoughts are, Jesse. I'll go to you first.
I think, but Abraham just chose to go Roma. I think Arsenal had it agreed, but he just weighed it up and thought, yeah, like, let me go manager that knows what he's doing, playing Europe as well, and let me go Roma. I think that's what it was. It's like, should I? Yeah, and I think he made the right decision. To be quite honest with you,
I fancy that relegation.
And he wasn't on that, man. Like 6 pointers against Norwich. There's no point in that. Do you know what I mean? But
and he's doing well. He's doing well. Scored at the weekend.
He's doing well. He's doing well. But look, we have to see what happens with them in the next few games. When you look at these first 3 matches, I expected maybe 3 to 4 points. So, like, obviously, I was expecting them to maybe beat Brentford. But in hindsight, it was set up for them to really lose that game because it was first game of the season, away, under the lights. Brentford's first game in the league. They was obviously going to be supercharged for that game. Friday night. So they kind of set up to lose. But realistically, I thought they would win that game. Maybe a draw against you because they was at home. And maybe they'll be up for it because it was against you guys. And I saw that 5-0 happening. I thought maybe 3 or 4. I didn't think 5. But I saw that result definitely happening. So I thought they would get 4. But, I mean, to get no points and then also the way that they've got no points. Because there's ways of that happening. You know, Wolves haven't got any points yet either. But Wolves have controlled 3 matches. They've created like 57 chances. They dominated all 3 games as well. And they pressed, they worked hard, they had desire in their matches. So if you're a Wolves fan, you might be upset or annoyed that you ain't got 3 points yet, but you still look at it and think, okay, we're definitely going to turn the corner the way we're playing. But you look at the way that they are playing right now, they're gutless. There's no work rate. There's no plan. They just look bereft of confidence. The whole thing looks a mess. And I know I run banter about them a lot, especially on this podcast, but even that all aside, it's really bad at the moment for them.
Yeah, I echo that. Yeah, definitely. And it's telling what you're saying there, Jesse, because even when you look at the table now, and like you said, a manner of the results, Arsenal and Wolves are the only teams that haven't scored. Wolves were unlucky, I think, to have not got a goal on the weekend, and it's a whole other issue that they've got anyway. But they've only conceded 3 goals. You know what I mean? Like, they've lost each game, I think, 1-0.
Yeah, that's
Arsenal just haven't even looked like they're gonna do any damage. I'll just mention it now about their transfer window because what they spent, like, is it 150 million now with this guy from today? I feel like they just needed to go out, and just kind of overpay on a proven player, like just go to Crystal Palace. I know they probably wouldn't have done it, but just said, like, how much do you want for Zaha? Okay, we don't think he's worth that, but we need to bring him in. Like, we'll spend half our budget on that, because I don't think they needed a lot of like squad players. They needed like one or two magicians just to keep them fighting to see if they can get back in the top six. I don't think I do like some of the players they've signed, but these are guys that were fighting at a level below with other players that are probably not, at that mid-table level. They needed a couple man. Abdi mentioned Ings, that he'd get goals. Zaha, excuse me, even like, I know you guys aren't a big fan of him, but like a Ward-Prowse, Basuma. Do you know? Obviously, I know Jesse, you're a big fan of Basuma, but just someone that could go in and actually do something good there, like something different and be reliable. But they've gone out and got players, and you're not too sure what you're gonna get. Some of them are gonna need time. They don't really have time. And Arteta, I don't know. I've never been a fan of what he does, and
that's what it goes back to, though.
I can't. Yeah.
That's what it goes back to, though. Sorry, because the whole thing with Arteta, he doesn't strike me as someone who could go and get. Well, I know he doesn't do the deals; it's Edu, but they don't strike me as a team. Whoever's doing these deals could go and get a Wilfred Zaha. Like, the club's a mess, like that, to the point where even their transfer strategy sounds like a mess. And you've hit the nail on the head. They've got like a bag of players that might do all right, they might not, but we don't know. And that's a big risk when your career, not your career, but your job is on the line already. Without that kind of pressure as well, you had that pressure before the window was even open to do well for Arsenal to start the season, and then to bring in all these players, you've got to expect them to gel with the team and to blend in with the team. There's off-field issues like Jesse mentioned already, and there was issues before that as well. So it just seems to me that maybe the board has succumbed to the fact that they're going to give him the next 3 or 4 games and look at potentially bringing in a manager that can settle the ship. And you think by then, hopefully they're not in the bottom 3 or they're not at the bottom of the table, but they've got a couple of points, and then the manager can come in and build on that. The window reopens again then in January. So, do you know what I mean? I don't think they could sack him now because they've brought in these players. They've got to give him time to get them to play. So, but I agree with you. I think they've brought in some okay players, but are they going to be able to do it in the Prem? We don't know. Obviously, Ben White's done that. We know that proven. But the other players that have come in under Arteta, can they play how he wants them to play and get results?
Yeah. Can I ask a quick question though, to T-Dot, just very quickly? Does it matter if Arteta's there? Just no. Just, it was just based on something you said. Does it actually matter if he's there? Because Edu's clearly not signing players for his system or what he wants. So why not sack him? And just because they're looking for a coach, they're going to sign players regardless. So I'm just wondering, do you think that those players have been bought with Arteta in mind, or they're just buying the players because they're the players that they've identified?
They're trusting their process.
The golden question. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's
what they say.
It's another thing as well. Who do you bring in? Because I don't think there's been talk of Antonio Conte. He turned down Spurs, and Spurs are definitely clear of Arsenal at the moment. He didn't like their project or something. I think he said, I can't remember the exact words, but it was something along those lines that he wasn't keen on the project that Spurs had. Arsenal don't even have a project. So if he's going to turn down Spurs, then what's he going to do at Arsenal? And that's just being truthful. Like, this is the harsh reality. Surely Arsenal fans must think that their club is in a mess. And I'm just saying voicing it from my opinion, but I can't see a Conte or Allegri or any of these big managers going to Arsenal. They'll have to go and get someone very similar to Arteta, but probably with a bit more experience. Whoever that is, I don't know. But to answer your question, potentially not. It doesn't matter whether Arteta's there, because it doesn't look like he's doing much anyway at the moment.
He's the cone collector. But like, no, you have to be realistic here. Like, they've got to be realistic as fans as well. Conte's not going to Arsenal. And I know it's ironic because they just spent 150 million. So with a better manager in there who has a style of play and he knows what he wants, he could have probably spent that money. I wouldn't say better, but he would have spent it differently and it would have been more effective because it would have fitted to what he was trying to do. But Conte is very particular. He wants certain amount of people in his team. He wants control of situations. He wants to know. He'd probably ask for more money to even be spent on that squad. He'd look at the squad and think, this is long. I can't win anything this season. Maybe not even next season. Why would I go there? Do you know what I mean? And I said it on Andy's podcast yesterday, man. Like, they've got to look at Eddie Howe or Daesh. They've got to look at Potter. They've got to look at those type of managers because, and look, I rate them managers, but they've got to be looking at those type of guys. They're not going to get, some of these other, maybe a Marco Silva. I think he's at Fulham now. Is he at Fulham, Marco Silva? Is that correct? He's in the chat. I know Marco Silva.
I think so, yeah.
He's in the Championship anyway.
Somewhere.
They've got to look at like guys like that, man. Even maybe a Frank Lampard, someone like that. They're not going to get no thoroughbred top level coaches to come into that burning house. They're not going to do it. So they've just got to be realistic with it, really.
If Tottenham struggled to get, remember Tottenham had 6 or 7 candidates and a lot of them either turned them down or they just weren't interested in the job. And that's Spurs, who have got clearly a better squad at the moment. They kind of look like they're going in the right direction now, especially now they've retained Harry Kane as well.
They're the best team in
Arsenal just at the moment. Yeah, of course. And I think even some Arsenal fans would have to agree with that. But I just think, I agree with Jesse. I think Eddie Howe, Sean Dyche, someone at that level will sustain Arsenal Football Club. And when I say sustain, I mean sustain so they can build momentum to try and get back into Europe and above the top 10 and all that stuff. And that's not bad. No, that's where they are.
I'm being serious. I mean that with absolute no banter. Them 3 managers would improve that situation at the club. They've all got styles of play. They're all different styles of play, but they've all got styles of play that they've implemented with lesser players than what are at Arsenal. They've also worked in that pressure pot situation where, down at the bottom where they are right now, they've worked in them situations. So they're the kind of managers that could probably elevate, stable the ship, bring in better players from the Championship, implement them into the team, and work that way, because they're going to have to pull the plug at some point. I don't see this guy in there by the end of the season. So it just depends on how long the owner's going to play this game, really. Because I know there's still loads of Arsenal fans that want to give him time and they're backing the manager, they're doing, all that stuff. But I think it's looking inevitable right now, man.
Bro, I've just seen, just the last thing on Arsenal. So Bellerin, who I thought was going to leave, he's gone to Real Betis. I thought he was going to go to Sevilla. That's tells you what Arsenal are at the moment. He's their best right back. He's gone to Real Betis. Wow. Okay.
No, he's shocking anyway. They needed to replace him anyway.
He's their best right back. No,
Maitland-Niles is better than him, man. That's why this thing's funny, because I think he's been playing left wing back, right wing back for them, and right back. I think he got in the England team as a fullback. He's been playing better when he has been given a chance. So I don't know if he's fallen out with Arteta or whatever the issue is, but Bellerin's not good enough anyway. So I don't think they're going to miss him, to be quite honest with you.
Fair play. What are we saying? United game?
Yeah, man, that was hilarious. I think listen, I think, do you know what? Obviously, it sounds like a broken record because wherever I talk about Man United, whether it's on WhatsApp, on a podcast, in the barbershop, it's the same thing. What we've needed, and we still haven't got it. And it's Ollie's 6th window now, about to close. Still not signed a midfielder, and it was one of them games that it was really evident. Fred was losing the ball and weren't stopping any counter-attacks. He was getting out-muscled, out-maneuvered by players. I think at one time, Trincão's gone past him. He's trying to jockey him. Trincão's basically just shoved him to the ground. He's eating grass. He lost the ball a few times. Adama Traore was bullying him as well. I think the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes, as I said, Wolves was all over us. They created loads of chances. They should have had a couple of goals. Traore was playing well. Trincao played well. Neves and Moutinho was playing well in there as well. And it's, you know what? It's a completely different Wolves side from what we saw under Nuno. Like, obviously they could score a goal on the Nuno and maybe was a threat on the counter, but Wolves can just sustain the pressure. Like, they play like a top team would play, if that makes sense. Like, they play like a team would, like, I don't know, like a Liverpool or City. Chelsea play like that sometimes, where they just play higher up the pitch. They control the game. That's what they did to us in the first 30 minutes, 35 minutes. And they should have had the goal to show for it. Obviously, when they 0-0 at half time. And I think by around an hour onwards, I think Man United obviously came into the game and they started to get a foothold, started to move the ball and create chances. But obviously, it was a debatable goal. You could say it was a foul, to be quite honest with you, even though there's no contact. How high it was, you could say it was a foul. If that's just being realistic, innit? Like, you know, if someone done that to me, I'd want a foul, even if you didn't touch me. But obviously they've played on, and it was a fantastic goal by Greenwood. I think he meant it. We've seen him score goals like that before. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't really see the goal coming from anybody else on the pitch. And it was this typical United type of game, man, especially away, where it's just going to take a moment of brilliance from a player to produce the 3 points. And that's what it was again, really. But obviously the window's closing now in an hour. I don't think they're getting a DM. That's where Man United's issues will be this season. And I said this last week on the podcast. But if I'm looking at what Chelsea got in midfield, they just signed Saul on top of Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho. Liverpool got Fabinho and Henderson, and they've got Thiago in there. City have got Rodri, who's played really well against Arsenal. Still got Fernandinho, Gundogan. What we've got in there, we can't control the game. They can't screen. They can't intercept. They can't take the ball to centre backs. I don't see how United could win anything with what we've got in midfield. But in terms of the game, yeah, it's typical kind of United performance, but they got 3 points. I don't know if you obviously saw the game, T-Dot. What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously, I was gassed a bit on Friday. The CR7 thing put you, man, in a title race. Might have to retract that statement. No, to be fair, no, I think you'll still be there or thereabouts. I just think with games like that, I agree when you say things like we need the DM or Fred is, you know, like all the things you've said before on all the other episodes where we talked about United and that's been brought up. You can see it evidently when you see the way that United played against Wolves, why you need that DM. Or I do think a part of it's still Ollie, but I think at the same time, he can only work with what he's got. And if he hasn't got the right DM there to do the job, or he hasn't got the right player to do the job, then obviously it's a plan ready to fail. But I thought overall the game, I agree with you. I thought Wolves have started it on the front foot. I thought if Traore had a end product where he could actually cross the ball, he would have been dangerous because he's got everything about him. He's you know, like just everything about him is there apart from the end. And I think if he can get that ball into the box, or he takes players on, but then he kind of runs out of space and he doesn't really know what to do, which was frustrating to watch because I think he's a player that obviously he was at Barcelona but then they made a good point in the commentary that he got relegated twice as well, and I thought I can see why when he plays like that. But no, overall he's a really good player. I liked watching him. And I agree with you as well that it's a different Wolves than what we used to seeing under Nuno. I thought it was just they were playing high up the line as well. United just couldn't cope in the first half. It was like a training game for them. They just didn't look like. I think again in the commentary they said it was like a Thursday. They played Thursday night and they travelled back late. It kind of felt like that. It was all like stale and kind of like stagnant. Like no one was really doing anything. So I think in the second half, I think Ollie had to go in and change things. I think bringing off Sancho was a good. Well, I'd say it was a good move, but I think he brought on Martial, didn't he, for Sancho? But I agreed with you as well. I thought Greenwood, I said it on Friday's episode that we did, Greenwood just looks like the player that United really do need. He's been firing every game that I've seen him. He was firing at the back end of last season as well. So I think he's a talent for the age that he is. He's still, 19, 20? Is a talent. So I think when you look at the goals, where they're going to come from United, obviously look at Fernandes, who I thought was relatively poor against Wolves, which again we don't say that a lot. Do you know what I mean? He's normally one who contributes at least something into the game. But when you look at the goals, you look at Fernandes, obviously Rashford, when he's fit, might get a few goals as well. But I think Greenwood's going to be the guy. Obviously Cavani and Ronaldo are there now as well. But defensively, I think there's still work. A lot of people was talking about Varane, but first game in the Premiership, you kind of expect him to. I mean, Thiago Silva got run ragged his first game in the Premiership as well. So I kind of expected him to be off the pace a little bit in the game, especially in the first half. I felt like he was, but over time that's going to come. Eventually, he'll get that. More experience he plays in the Premier League, but he's a world class defender, so it's not going to take long for him to do that. But apart from that, I thought it was a good game. Lucky, I thought, for United, but I agree what you mean in terms of Oli looks good kind of every now and again, but it's not Oli, but the team looks very good now and again. But they're almost covering over some of the cracks as well. Kieran, I'm going to pass it over to you.
I've got a recording from last week. I'm just going to press play now because this shit. Listen. Again, looking at the lineup, you signed Sancho for 73 million because you got an issue on the right. So what do? You play him left midfield, you put Pogba on centre mid, and James on the right. You sold it a couple of days later. Does that sound like someone that knows what they're consciously doing? I don't want to say him too much, but that's confusing to me. I don't know why you would do something like that. I looked at how Wolves set up. I can't think of what tactical weakness in Wolves that he thought that could exploit. And also, you're dropping back a guy that's got 5 assists, like it's a record for the first 2 games of the season, and you're moving him out of that position. That don't make no sense to me. You get me? And then I thought Wolves were just the better, so they were unlucky to lose. I felt like it was a foul. They should have got a free kick for that. I think it's weird. The replay doesn't show contact, but the freeze frame does show it. And I think Neves has got a little gash on his leg, so he must have caught him. So it's a foul. Like they should have stopped that. The goal shouldn't have counted. And yeah, like I thought it was a very average performance for United. I felt like Traore did really well when he switched him to the right hand side and he went up against Shaw. Like he had that side of the pitch. He had those players on toast. He was beating them again and again. Let's see, innit? Like someone said, it's the mark of champions when you can win games when you're not playing well. But I think what they meant is when you play against the big boys and you don't play well, but you still win. When you're playing against, like, no disrespect to Wolves, but that's how you end up drawing against teams like Southampton. So we'll see anyway. What was it 7 points in the first 3 games? Can't really complain at that, So let's see what Ollie's got in him. Maybe a trophy this season with the big CR7. But yeah, I echo what I say every week and what Jesse says every week, and why Theo sat there smugly with a smile but won't say Chelsea the favourites, but knows deep down that they are, because it's definitely the challenge ain't coming from United. I think we know that.
Just going back to Abdi's question there, apart from some magic moments and counter-attacks, can Oli improve this team anymore? Jesse, I'm going to throw it to you.
No.
Oh, you should be a reporter.
No. What I said, it's what I said before. I think that is it. That's how United win games. It's magic moments, or it's a counter attack. And he's had enough time now. If if he was going to do something different to what we've seen, it would have already been implemented by now. This is his first season at the club, and we would have already seen it by now. You know, teams implement their styles of play within 6 months. All these new managers, whether they've got all the pieces to the jigsaw or not. So what we are seeing is his style of play, and bar, you know, another few signings in certain positions, if he just signs a team full of the best players in every position, then obviously it would look different. But I can't really see him improving this any more than it is. I think, like I said at the start of the season in the preview show, he'll get top 4, and I think he's got the ability to get top 4, and maybe, you know, if he's lucky, a cup. But I think that's it. I think that's all they can do with him, really.
So what we're doing now, we got 1 hour to the transfer window. Literally slap bang on 10 o'clock. So what are we expecting? Because there's been some activity whilst we've been on. I think Palace have signed Odsonne Edouard from Celtic. That's finally gone through.
Ooh.
That's a very, very good signing.
Is that done?
I think. Yeah, it's done now. Yeah. That's a done deal.
That's a great signing.
18 mil.
Celtic have signed Benfica winger Jota.
Ooh, Edouard. That's a brilliant move. Because I think with the players that they signed this window, when they're all fit, like Elise, when Eze's back, obviously Edouard can play as well. It's a different looking front line now. And obviously there's still question marks over Benteke, even though they gave him a new deal. But I think that move makes sense, man. You know, younger team, younger makeup of the team. So yeah, that's a good signing.
Yeah, I feel like Palace are in, obviously it's early days for Patrick Vieira, but I feel like they're in a good place. I feel like they've covered the right positions that they needed to expand on. Obviously defensively, they brought in Mark Guehi as well, Conor Gallagher, obviously on loan as well. So and they signing now of Odsonne Edouard as well. I think that's probably that sets them up for the season to potentially do something this season. Maybe push in for a Europa Conference place or something like that. But, you know, like you said, they've got to get Eze. I think he's still injured, isn't he?
Yeah, still injured. Still come back from the Achilles injury. But I think he'll be back in like October or November. Apparently he's supposed to be a bit ahead of schedule. But yeah, he'll be back before Christmas. But the only thing I think that they needed that they didn't get was maybe another player that could play on the right wing. Obviously, Zaha can play there. He played there against Brentford. And Ayew can play there. He's always played there loads of times. But I still thought they would have probably needed someone more of a specialist on the right. But it's a very good window for them. It's going to take time for some of them players to get used to the Premier League and just playing with new team. And there's loads of new players there. It's going to take time for it to all gel. But they've definitely made very good signings. Gallagher on loan is a brilliant signing. Obviously, fantastic on the weekend. Fantastic on the weekend from him. So I think once it all clicks into place, I think they'll start to do really well.
Seventh signing of the season for Patrick Vieira. So we'll see how they get on. But Everton are looking like they're going to potentially sign Salomon Rondon, which I think is a very bad move. But
yeah, I think it's
getting the gang back together.
That's what I think. Yeah, I think it's a good signing because I think it's one of them that it's the third time he signed him now. So he took him to China, and then now he's taking him back from China to come back to Everton with him. But it's the same with Townsend. He had Townsend at Newcastle. I think as a manager, when you haven't got a type, and this is what Arsenal needed. So when you're a manager and you've got a really tight budget, you've got to bring in guys that you know can do the job for you. Sam Allardyce done it a million times. You know, he brought man from Bolton to Newcastle to West Ham. Kevin Nolan went everywhere with him.
You man laughed when I had Lewis Baker every minute.
That's different, man.
Yeah, but he done the job for you.
You took a league with you.
A
No, but it's
messing
not
up,
even
a
good. It's
messing
not
But
even
yeah,
different. It's the same thing because
yeah,
he was effective for you,
facts.
and
Facts.
and it's the same with Redknapp. Redknapp done it with Nico Krankel. Like he took him everywhere. So, and I think Rondon will do a good job.
Yeah, Crouch.
And you got to remember, Rondon's 31. He knows he's not going to be starting ahead of
It's not
Calvert-Lewin,
the
but
star
it'd be
guy,
good.
is he?
But he'll be comfortable with that. He's worked with Rafa before. He'll know he get opportunities. If Calvert-Lewin's not playing well, he'll just take him off and bring him on. Rafa's not someone that like idolizes any players. He'll take anyone off if they're not playing well. So he'll get his chances. And he's a bully. He's going to run the channels. He's a nightmare for centre back. So I think it's a good signing.
It's very similar
Just
to the.
like
It reminds
Sorry,
you of the Igalo signing that United had, where he's never going to be a first team starter. But to be fair, Igalo, he came on like he wanted, he wanted to play for the manager. He got goals. He worked his socks off. He's not signing the world beater in it. It's exactly like Jesse said. He's bringing someone in just to put a bit of pressure on Calvert-Lewin and to ease the pressure, because I think he's got a broken toe, Calvert-Lewin, isn't he? He's pulled out of the England
is that what the
squad.
was?
So yeah, he's been playing on a broken toe since the beginning of the season. So it's little signings like that just he'll still do a job. And I think it's quite good short term signing until he's got P to buy another guy.
They've done well. I think getting Damari Gray for the money that they did. The games that I've watched of Everton, he's done really well. I've been impressed with Damari Gray since he's come back to the Premiership.
But I'll ask you, Theo, because I've seen kind of like murmurs and rumours on Twitter, and I don't know if you're up there, so you might be able to give a better answer. Are they skint? Or
Who, Everton?
Is he, not skint in the sense of like actually skint,
It's fair play. That's the issue.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, because
sorry,
I
I'm not
don't mind.
But because because of the signings that they made this season, this summer?
No, because I think they've made signings that they needed. I think they're all good signings. I think they did need wingers, which they brought in. Probably did need a backup for Calvert-Lewin. So I think they've actually done. It's good business. All of the players are good signings, but in terms of like, there's no spend and things like that. It makes you think whether like if there's any issues behind the scenes. But if it's a financial fair play thing, then that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're skint. I think it is the financial fair play thing. But just looking on here now, because obviously there's two ones that I've been keeping an eye on for the last couple of hours. The first one, obviously, Saul to Chelsea, saying here that time is ticking out to get that done. The deal's not 100% done. Saying here that Chelsea have agreed a deal, but time is running out to get the paperwork done. So this is Chelsea all over, because this deal should have been done 2 weeks ago. So that'll be interesting to see if that one goes through. But the bigger news than that is, well, I don't know about you, man, but Griezmann going back to Atletico Madrid. Yeah, Barca are looking to offload Griezmann back to Atletico Madrid.
But does Atletico want him?
Yeah. Apparently they're trying to get the deal. Yeah, they're trying to get the deal done. Yeah, they're trying to get the deal done.
Trying to get that 600 grand off the wage bill.
Yeah, it literally just says that here.
So
it highlights the financial predicament that Barcelona are in.
Because I know I think today they took a pay cut again. No, go on, Kieran. Go on.
Sorry, my thing's buffering, but yeah. I think, was you saying, is it Busquets and is it Jordi Alba? Also, I can't remember who it was, but there's two players that have taken the pay cut. So they want Griezmann off, but I think it's a 2-year loan with an obligation to buy. So I think they're going to split the wages. Saul is they're moving on to Chelsea, I think, to make way for Griezmann. And I think it's the wages, because he was offered to United, so the story goes. But they wanted them to pay, I think, like it's 200,000 a week. And obviously they've just bought Ronaldo, so that's an issue as well. But the bigger implication is that Atletico Madrid are running themselves into the ground, because I don't know if you might have been keeping track, but they've got a lot of man on a lot of big wages. Yeah, because don't forget they've got João Felix on like crazy wages. I think Koke is not on mad wages, but like their wage bill is quite big, and their debt is not tiny either. And he almost went into financial ruin in the 90s. So it's a bit of a weird one, I find, from them.
Yeah, all the Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico are all in the same situation. It's just that Barcelona are at the peak of it. Theirs is the worst by like a considerable distance. But Atletico are in problems as well. So Real Madrid, and that's why obviously they got the Camavinga deal done today. But that's their first signing in 2 years. And I don't know the structure of the deal. So I don't know how much money Real Madrid actually paid up front. But I don't think they paid a lot up front. And yeah, they're in trouble. But that's why, if you're looking at Barca today, I think they sold Emerson Royal to Spurs.
Spurs.
I think they sold another. They sold someone else today as well, not Griezmann.
It's the midfielder.
Yeah, they did.
Is it Maribo?
Yeah, because I think we were meant to be in for him.
Yeah, he's gone
to
Leipzig. So yeah, they're just, as I said, I thought more players would have left them in this week, but yeah, they're still in trouble, man. But obviously, Alba and, like you said, Alba and Piqué, I think they took their 100th pay cut already this summer to get Aguero to be able to sign and play for Barcelona, man. But yeah, obviously we know Piqué's got the money because Piqué just Piqué's company just got the rights to coverage League One.
Oh yeah, so, wait, that's bad.
So
is that even allowed? That's crazy.
I don't know. It don't make sense to me. But obviously, he's got enough money to take pay cuts because he can buy rights to stream football for a whole football league for his television network. So I don't know how it will work. That doesn't make no sense to me. But it is what it is, man. I know PSG signed Nuno Mendes today, the left back. I think it's a 7 million.
I think it's
a loan.
Is it a loan?
7 million loan for 40 million. Yeah. So they've done good business. I don't know how they've maneuvered their way out of financial fair play this summer, but they have obviously a lot of free transfers. Yeah, a lot of free transfers, but yeah.
Can you? I want to ask T-Dot, because obviously we know that Saul isn't over the line yet, but I don't know, how were you feeling about that, especially if it does go through, and where do you kind of see his role as well, given that it looks like it's going to be a loan?
Well, it's another option in midfield for us as well. Like I said before, I think on Friday or one of the other episodes, there's going to become a point this season where there is going to be some sort of COVID outbreak in the next couple of months. I think that's just inevitable. And if we lose certain players in that position that he can play, then it's just an option. Originally, I think it was a mandatory obligation fee that we had to pay afterwards, but now that's been changed to an option, which I'm happy about, because obviously we can see how he does this season. I remember a couple of years ago, I think Kovacic was very similar. We got him on loan, ended up being player of the season for us, and then we signed him. So this could be working out just as good as that as well. My only worry in terms of Chelsea at the moment is obviously we've let Ampadu go on loan, who can play that kind of sort of midfield, central defensive midfield position. Zuma's obviously also gone as well. Who, Ampadu?
Yeah.
I can't remember. He went somewhere earlier. He's gone to Italy. Somewhere in Italy. He's gone somewhere in Italy. But
how are you feeling about Zuma?
Zuma go to West. Yeah, I'm gutted about Zuma. I'm gutted about him because obviously I think we only let Zuma go because the Koundé deal looked like it was happening. From what I've been reading today, that's not happening now. We're not looking to meet the valuation of the release clause.
But
we value him at
with
15
that one,
million euros. They value him at 68, I think, or something like that.
80.
Yeah.
80. They want the whole minimum free release clause, which
I think is closer to 70, you know?
Yes, 70 to 80 million euros, I think is between that. But with that situation, how's it got to the last day and then they're saying that they want the minimum fee release clause? Surely, this would have been in the discussions already, no? Because it's been
so
that
happened last week.
2-3 weeks.
Yeah. So that on Thursday, they put that offer on the table that this is what we're going to accept. According to what we're hearing today, that Chelsea just haven't got back to them with any offer or nothing. So they've obviously said, well, if you're not going to offer anything, then we're going to take the offer off the table. So I think that's how. I think, like I said before, just then, typical Chelsea. Like when you think about Chelsea's transfer windows, not last couple of seasons, but going back a few years, it's always been that kind of knee jerk, kind of last minute thing, and let's get it over the line. Let's run the paperwork to the office, and do you know what I mean? Get it down the fax machine or whatever they do these days. But it's always kind of been like that. So overall, I'm happy with the window. I think all we needed was a backup goalkeeper for when Mendy goes to African Cup of Nations, and we needed a striker. So I think we've done that. I think Saul coming in is like an added kind of bonus a little bit, I think. So we'll see if that gets done and how he plays for us. But yeah, overall, I'm happy with what's done. I'm a bit sort of, I think we've always had too many centre-backs at the club anyway, but I think Thiago Silva this season, I can see him probably picking up one or two more injuries. He picked up a few last season, so is he really going to play? It's in his last season for Chelsea, or probably his career, especially in Europe anyway. So it kind of leaves Chalobah, Christensen, Rudiger as our main centre backs. Kind of leaves us thin on the ground. So I would have loved to have kept Zuma if this Conde deal doesn't go through. But there's still 45 minutes. You never know. We might just say, yeah, we'll take the 70 odd million. We'll do that deal, ring them up last minute, get it done. But it's not looking likely. But PSG, man, rejecting the Mbappe deal, 189 million. Real Madrid. Been reading today that I think he's going to go on a free in the summer now. There must be some sort of agreement in place that they could, obviously he wants to leave. PSG are saying no. I think you said this already, Jesse, a few weeks ago, but they'll just let him go. I think he can sign his pre-contract, honey, in
January.
Yeah, he can sign. Look, yeah. I think for them, I think it's extraordinary that, and it's only them. Let's have this right, man. It's only them that would do this, man. I don't even think City would have done that. Yeah, turned down 190 million on the last day of the window for a player that's got a year left on his contract. It's ridiculous, to be quite honest with you. But they can do it, you know. They can do it.
Does that go back to what you said, though? Remember when you said that obviously this is their opportunity to try and clean up this season, get the Champions League.
Yeah,
you know, go back and do all that. You reckon that's this season?
Yeah, but and I said this to Kieran before, like when we talk about owners, when we speak about the Glazers, yeah. There's some owners in football that they're hell bent on winning. Like they're obsessed with it. They want it. They'll do whatever it takes to get to it, whether it doesn't make any logical sense or not. Like this situation, because they really, they could have got the 190 million. They could have brought that in earlier on in the window. They probably could have got Haaland. They could have done something logical like that, yeah. But they don't need to do anything like that because they've got enough money that they could probably go and get Haaland next summer anyway. And they're probably looking at it like, what's the best chance of getting the Champions League? Is keeping Mbappe rather than sending them to one of their main rivals for the Champions League. So, you know, they've kept him now. That's a front three with Messi and Neymar to add to the other players that they've already signed this window. So I think for them, they're just looking at it like, how can we win the Champions League this season? And their best chance is by keeping him.
Just reading here now as well, Serge Aurier is in talks to mutually terminate his contract with Spurs. So it sounds like he wants to find a new club. Yeah, looks like he wants to try and find a club.
I'm not shocked, man. He's just a car crash of a player that he'll have a good 2 or 3 games, and then there's a kamikaze moment where he'll get a red, he'll give away a penalty, he'll just do something stupid. So I think it makes sense for everyone, really. Obviously, I think you would have rather have sold him, got some money in, but if he's not going to play, there's probably no point in him being around there, really, because they've still got Doherty. I think they just signed Emerson.
They got Tanganga's played well there. Yeah, he's done well.
He's played well there, so you know, I think they're looking at it like just get him out the door, man.
Do you know what?
Obviously, same thing with Willian. He teared up his contract. He's losing out on 20 million as well. which just that tells you how bad it is in there.
He's been stealing a living for years anyway. So he probably,
yeah, but I mean,
that's
for
a lot of
I know what you mean.
that's
I know what you mean.
yeah, that situation's got to be real bad for you not to sit out 20 mil. Do you know what I mean? Like, or at least get a move.
But that goes back to what I said as well. That goes back to what I said about Arsenal being the way it is in terms of with Arteta and Edu and the rest of them. For him to just drop 20 million, I'm going to go back to Brazil. That's a bit mad. I'm pretty sure he would have.
100%.
Yeah, he would have loved to have fought for, fight for his place at the club, and I'm sure he loves the London life. Remember, I told you he's got his restaurant with David Luiz and all that stuff. So I'm sure he would have wanted to stay. They have to open one in Brazil.
No, it's facts, isn't it? It's facts. Well, just quickly coming back to the Tottenham and Aurier, because I remember watching the All or Nothing. Obviously, eventually, like about 6 months after you advised me to watch it. But there's obviously it was him.
Only 6 months.
Yeah, I know it. Him, Dembele and Sissoko, where they had a little thing in it, and I think Sissoko's gone to Watford. I think, hasn't he? And Dembele is obviously having issues, and or I feel like for whatever reason they want those guys away from the first team, and I wonder what kind of impact that might have been having, because I just find it weird that they were trying to. I don't know what the issue with Ndombele is. I don't know, but it just seems like there's something there with the freedom where they just wanted them all out of the club. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it too deep, but sometimes you have like little factions in the dressing room, and you just need
like a little clique, aren't they? Like a little clique in the team, and maybe that does disrupt a bit of the harmony of the squad and all that stuff. But yeah, you're probably right, to be fair.
West Ham signed Vlasic today from CSKA Moscow.
What's your thoughts on that one? Because I'm not a massive fan, but
he's a good. Do you know what? Personally, I think they signed him because they didn't get Lingard back.
Yeah.
Because obviously
that's 100%.
He basically plays number 10, and he's a 10, or he could play 8, but mainly as a 10, really. Obviously, he's done all right for Croatia, decent Euros, but I just think that was. We know Moyes doesn't sign knee-jerk players, so we know how long it takes him to sign a player. We know his process, how long, how he goes to actually watch the players himself, and all that type of stuff. So I know he knows about him, so it's not a knee-jerk move.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think it would have happened if they got Lingard, which that surprised me that Lingard stayed, really, because of when he saw the CL7 move, what's happening with Van der Beek. And obviously Rashford's to come back. I find it a bit astonishing that he stayed.
I'll explain that though. I think I know why he stayed, and I don't even know I don't rate Vlasic. I can see why Moyes signed him. But what was you gonna say, T-Dot? I feel like I interrupted.
Well, just in terms of the Jesse Lingard thing, I think he just wants to stay for vibes. I think that can be the only answer.
Unfortunately,
yeah, no, and it's a shame because we got to see the potential of what Jesse Lingard can be at West Ham. When he was there, he looked like a completely different player, and that could just be a confidence thing because he's not playing. He's playing week in, week out, and he's kind of got a purpose to play football again. But when you're on a wage at United and you kind of second fiddle to someone, you're playing cup games or you're playing here and there. The only answer that you can really give now is you're there for vibes, because surely the opportunity to leave must have been there for you. So I don't know.
Listen,
but it just seems a bit. I agree. It seems a bit odd.
I agree, man, and I genuinely thought that like at some point I just expected him to be back at West Ham, whether it was a loan, whether it's a permanent deal. I expected him to see him holding up that shirt at some point in this window, because he ain't played that type of football for about 3 or 4 years. And he looked like he was happy. He looked like he's enjoying himself, and he got him back into the England squad. Even though he didn't get like to the Euros, it got him back within the fold. So
he's there now. Like he's been picked in the latest squad,
which baffled me when I saw that, because he's not played for us, which is Southgate's. It's a different issue, but I just thought, with the signings we made, surely you would have seen that and thought. And looked at how other players are getting treated. So if I'm a player, I'm not listening to Oli, because Oli obviously he sells, the dreams, innit, like to some of these guys, because he's telling me all my plans, but none of them are even playing. Like Matta's not playing, Van de Beek's not playing, and I think he brought him on against Southampton, but he's not going to play much, especially when Rashford comes back. So and Bruno's there. Pogba. It's just I don't know why he stayed, man. To be honest with you,
I think to be fair, you're probably looking at it from how you would maybe not use Lingard, because going back to the Everton deal, separate the West Ham deal. As much as I'm not a fan of that guy, he's very much a systems player. Like when I watched him play, he's very much like he can follow instructions, and he's very much part of a good team unit. And I think to play in a David Moyes team, you need that. And I feel like it's weird because, like you said, Moyes does his homework, but when he signs a player from abroad, generally speaking, they do quite well in the Prem. Like they slot in straight away. So I can see why he signed them. I'm just not a big fan. With the Lingard deal, it's a bit of a weird one, because firstly, he's one of Ollie's boys, isn't it? So Ollie, and I am talking about this objectively, Ollie plays guys he likes. He plays people that we don't rate, but he plays guys he likes. He likes Lingard. He didn't really play so much last season, but he didn't really rotate, and there was a lot of issues with it. But the way I'm looking at it, and obviously the three of us all know just from the different walks of life that we're in, COVID is going to play a massive role. And also players traveling to international games, some may have to quarantine, some not. Some are going to take ages to get back. And I think he's looking at it in that way. And Lingard's only competition, when you think about it, is probably Bruno, because he's not really gonna play him left, or he might play right wing, but he's gonna play him probably as a 10. So if Bruno gets injured, gets COVID, I was gonna say needs a rest, but he never rests him, Lingard's gonna be next in that position. And I only noticed that this season when United have brought on subs to play.
Slipped up there, innit?
Civil tongue.
Yeah, you get me.
It's 30 years. 30 years of practice. I know.
Man, slipped up, man.
No, when Ollie's made a change, Lingard has come on, hasn't he? He's played in a kind of weird sort of half winger role, like in the kind of left wing but 10 space. So, and for him, I think it was a case of Man United wanted 30 mil. West Ham didn't really want to pay that much for him, and Lingard, he didn't really want to stay there. Like the way he was talking, he was like, "Oh, thanks for the time and the opportunity. And it was good to get my fitness back and get back in the England squad." But he's talking about them like, this is like a pre-season thing, just to get my.
Odegaard done the same thing to Arsenal, though. Yeah, Odegaard done the same to Arsenal.
That's different though. That's quite different.
But they just
not in terms of what you just said though.
It's very different. It's very different because Odegaard was never a fixture at Real Madrid. He's never been fancied. Ancelotti doesn't really fancy him.
No, sorry, I'm just on about the fact of what you said in terms of him almost talking about never going back to Arsenal. I think the door's always open for Jesse Lingard to go back to West Ham. I just don't think.
Oh yeah, the door's open, but I think he doesn't really want to be there. Like when you look at it, and he's at a different stage of his life.
Goes back to my point. Then he's just there for vibes. Then because if you're playing second fiddle to Bruno, who you've just said isn't going to get dropped, he doesn't get rested. The COVID thing, that's hit and miss. That might not happen. So if you're relying on that as a player, or the traveling thing,
I hear that.
I think that's not a good enough reason for him to stay when he's got the talent to go and be something at another club as well. I think maybe not even a West Ham. There's other clubs I'm sure would have taken him. His agent could have got him a deal somewhere.
Yeah, like I think Everton were interested, but I think he believes in his ability because look at how he's broken through into the team on several occasions. I think he truly believes when he's playing at his best, he can be in and around the first team and get minutes. Man United is his boyhood club. He's gone for the youth ranks there. He's there for vibes. He's there because obviously Rashford's there and whatever. But I think he also truly believes that he'll get minutes, like in the cup, some Prem games, and he is just one space away from playing. Like I know it's a bit hit and miss, but that's how football works, isn't it? You just need Bruno to snap his ankle or pick up a little hamstring injury, like in the winter. He's playing.
Players don't. I don't think players rely on that because I don't.
They do 100%.
Like players don't rely on
Van der Beek
I don't
doesn't
know.
because Ollie hates him and doesn't play. But you know what I mean? Like, no. But if you do the maths, and we all know this as well.
But even that situation is peculiar now as well, because if we've seen the amount that he hasn't used him, yeah. Why didn't they just move him on? Like, there's absolutely no reason in having him in the squad. Like, at least, okay, I hear your argument about Lingard, yeah. I kind of agree with you, but I hear your argument because he's actually brought him on already against Southampton, yeah. But he didn't bring on Van der Beek when he needed a goal against Southampton. He's not brought him on. Like, we know how much you used him last season. Why did they not just sell him and then use that money to try and get a Kieran Trippier or get a DM?
I'm not even disagreeing with you. Like,
I know. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, if we take ourselves out of it in a way that we see football and think about Jesse Lingard believes in his ability. He's gone to West Ham. I think he had the most goals and assists, or he was up there in the top 5 at least anyway in the Prem. He's got them into Europe when you think about it. Without him, he's got called back into the England team. Ollie's obviously told him he's gonna play, he's gonna get minutes. Why wouldn't you back yourself? Like, even with you, Jesse, not for Man United, but if you're going to a team where you know that there's someone in your position that's a bit better, you're gonna still back yourself that if you get an opportunity, you're gonna take it, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? So I can see why he's there. The United not selling him is stupid. I don't get that. But him staying, I totally understand why. What was he want to do? Go to Ukraine like on like the weekends and that? Do you know what I mean? Like Azerbaijan.
I look at it and think like Rashford will be back soon. Martial's still there. Sancho's there. I know we sold Dan James and Diallo's out on loan, so there is a bit more room in the squad.
Diallo stayed, but it's the same thing.
Anyway. He's staying at United.
Yeah, he got injured. He got injured yesterday or the day before. He got a fine.
Yeah.
I thought he already signed for Sheffield United.
No, it was going to be final, but they pulled the plug because he literally
got
the injury. But
okay.
It's true what you're saying, but even at the same time, how old is he now? 28, 29?
Lingard's 28, yeah.
You know, we always talk here, I think the three of us, about when you get to a certain age and you see football a bit differently, the wages he's on, we know he's had the issues of his mental health, he's been looking after family. The fuck's he gonna go down to London?
Vibes.
Yeah, like if he feels he can try and get into the team, which I think he believes, but also be closer to the family, even if he's not getting minutes, why not, innit? Like, I can understand. It's the same with Matter. I won't say Phil Jones because obviously we know there's the background behind that. But
I think all the guys you just named, I think it's just, I don't want to say pathetic, but
you don't rate it.
No, because even if it's about like staying local, they could like Lingard could go Everton. And that's no disrespect either, because if you look at the players that they signed, he could slot into that team.
He would have worked well at Everton. I think that would have been a really good sign. That's why I'm saying not just West Ham, because he could have gone to Everton. Yeah. That's 30, 40 minutes from where he lives anyway. He's still local to Manchester, to Cheshire area, wherever he lives.
It's true, but they wanted him on. This is the thing, what I'm saying. Like, if you take away what we would do, Everton can't afford to buy him, and Man United don't want to loan him. They wanted 30 mil. So that was the non-starter. Do you know what I'm saying? So why is he gonna go through all that hustle to try and force a move through?
I guess he knows as well probably that it can get to January and he's not played and he could just get a loan.
He's just bouncing it. Yeah, it's calm.
But I don't know. I look at like that side of what they've done.
That kind of defeats the object though, because he's lost 6 months I say 6 months, but technically 4 or 5 months of football. I hear what you're saying though, cuz. I hear what you're saying.
And he's lost the momentum.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with both of you.
No.
What? I don't even know. I might have. It's Man United.
No, I'd bounce. I can't lie to you.
If it was Man United,
I'd
28, 29 years old.
But he's not playing. You're not playing. You're just sitting on the bench. Like, it's cold in the stadium. You know, we're just sitting on the bench.
Not even just that as well. If these men are serious about their football, which they are, they're professionals, they're pros, then surely you'd want to kick football rather than just kind of chancing it that you might play a couple of games. You might come on 70 minutes into a game. You might play in the Carabao Cup.
He trusts what he's told him, innit? He trusts what he said he's going to get minutes.
But you got to take all that like academy support the club, love the club. You got to take all that out because you're a footballer, like, and you also want to play for England. So you can only do that if you're actually playing football.
Big World Cup coming up as well.
Getting a 5 minutes here and there, and like a little 10-minute spell, and
especially,
I
I hear that, but he's probably done the maths. Like because that's the thing you're gonna hold in mind. You know that Bruno's played loads of games. That's your position. Bruno will eventually get injured because out of overuse. Like he was shattered last season. Like, no. I'm not saying he's
That's
rushing
the
that.
snapped ankle. Yeah,
Right,
he's definitely gonna get injured.
No. But what I'm saying with Bruno, overuse injuries, usually hamstring, ligament, and joint injuries. Right? We know this. This is how it happened. That's just logical. If you're doing the maths, the World Cup's not until the end of next year, so he could even go till next summer, go to a West Ham, not a Newcastle, but like at Everton. Still hit form. Gareth Southgate loves him. Ollie's told him he's going to play. He's coached him in the reserves. Why wouldn't you trust him? And it's Man United. So I don't agree with what he's doing. But
you know why you wouldn't trust him?
This is what I'm saying.
Because he said he's going to get. He said on Van der Beek's in his plans. That guy's getting like 1 minute a game. He said Matt is good around the dressing room and he's good to bring on in situations. I ain't seen that guy this season. He said Phil Jones is fit. I ain't seen that guy this season.
Phil James. Dan Jones has Dan James played games. He started 2 games.
Dan James started 2 games and he sold him. I don't. If you trust this guy,
So I'm trying to say.
That's what I'm saying.
What I'm trying to say. Don't trust him.
You're crazy.
If you strip the bands from it,
you're gonna put your career in Ollie's hands.
Listen, but also moving on just from that quickly,
Yeah, sorry.
Which is a good signing. Lookman's gone to Leicester on loan.
I'm not sure about that one.
Really?
What?
Why?
What, to Leicester?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Break it down. Why? Yeah. No. I'm not saying it's a bad signing. I'm not sure. Break it down.
Why are you not sure?
I'm not sure because when I look at Lookman, because how old is he now? 23, is he? Like ish, 24? He's still got a lot of his career ahead of him, but he's not been consistent enough. I feel like he needs to play. Like last season was a good loan for him, and I feel like he needed to play a team where he's going to play and be more consistent. I'm not sure he's going to get that run of games at Leicester, and I don't know if he's. You know how I feel about what's-his-face, Perez. I don't feel like Leicester need another player that's going to be inconsistent as well. So that's why I say I'm not sure. Very talented from the end. I really like him. Like I hope he does well. But I'm just saying, again, objectively, I'm not sure about that signing. It's a squad player, but I feel like Leicester needed something a bit more, personally. But that's just my impression.
I think he will play a lot of games, man. And I think he was consistent last season. To be quite honest with you,
I feel like he was good for Fulham.
But I think where Perez played a lot of games last season and done nothing, I think he will get a lot of them games and actually do something in that team. And we saw obviously with them that Barnes gets injured a lot, so he will play on the left. When Leicester switched to a 3-5-2, he can play up front as he did for Fulham. So I think he will do well in that team, man. And with better players around him, he'll produce a lot more than he did at Fulham. I think it's a good move. And
I was just about to say that as well.
Leicester needed another winger, as we spoke about before on the show. So I think it's a good move.
I'm just saying. I'm unsure. Sorry, Tito.
No, I was just gonna say the Hector Bellerin thing's gone through Real Betis.
This is a level
all done. They've tweeted it, so that's done deal. Loan to the end of the season.
He'll get some good Instagram shots out there, man. Good captions, a lot of sun, good scenery for the gram.
Just gonna see him on the beach.
In fact, I'm gonna send this to you two on WhatsApp. Obviously, anyone listening to this won't be able to see it, but the way that Real Betis have announced it is a bit mad. But let me just send it to you.
To be fair, do you know what they done a serious announcement, like a GTA style announcement for their last signing. Can't remember the name of the player, but it was really good.
I've seen it, man.
Yeah, it's good.
So I was switching rooms, but I'm still here. Yeah, with Lookman, I felt like his decision making was a bit poor, and Why are you laughing?
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I saw how they announced it, but
Oh, I'll watch it in a sec.
yeah.
No, I don't know. I hope Lookman does
What-
well, but I feel like he's quite inconsistent. And I'm looking at Damari Gray as well. And I know it's a bit different, but they've got, I don't know, both got reasonable ability, like similar kind of talents. And Rodgers just didn't really fancy him. And Damari Gray's at Everton now. Do you know what I mean? Like he had to go back a bit to come back. So I'm not sure about that, but time will tell on it.
But to be fair though, maybe it's just an attitude thing with what he saw with Gray. Maybe it didn't. That's why it didn't work out, because he picked Albrighton over him, and I don't think Albrighton. I like Albrighton as a player, because Albrighton's one of them players that, you know, you can tell him go out there and do this, and he's just going to do it. And I think sometimes that's what you needed from a player. But I think Lookman done that last season at Fulham. I think there was games where we saw a bit of brilliance from him, but there was also games where Parker's obviously told him go out there, do a certain job, and he done it. And Rodgers likes players like that. Like, he obviously likes players with ability, but he also likes players that can follow instructions, as any manager does, really. So I think maybe that's what the issue was with Gray. But I think Rafa's the guy that can iron that out anyway. But
Really looks like he's doing it already.
And also with Gray, do you know what? Maybe it was that he needed to get out of Leicester. It didn't work at Leverkusen, and maybe he's come back now and thought, you know what, this is a last chance. I need to get my head down and graft at Everton and be switched on. And but that's how we've seen him from the start of the season. I think Brighton signed a left back, I think, today or yesterday.
Dan James.
Can't remember his name. Brighton signed a good player apparently.
Really
anyway,
business, man.
Can I? I wanted to ask you, Jesse, actually, because about Dan James, because I feel like he's getting a lot of disrespect on Twitter, which seems a bit mad. But I don't know what your thoughts are. Like his time at United, him going to Leeds, the fee. Like, what's your thoughts on that deal?
I think it's very good business, man. Very good business. I think it's he's only the fourth player that Man United has sold at a profit in the last 10 years.
I think it's the fourth most expensive departure as well.
Yeah, which is shocking stuff. But
bro, that's
look,
shocking.
That's how bad we are at this stuff. But no, I think with him, he would have done well with any coach that can actually coach, and that's just the truth, man. Like if Rafa got a hold of him, if he was with Brendan Rodgers, where he's going with Bielsa, he needs to be coached. And he's young, he's still raw, and there's still things that he needs to learn. But he's still young enough to learn them. It's just with the coaching and with repetition and with things being put in place to me, explained properly, I think he will improve as a player. And I think that's why the move to Leeds is a good one for him, because Bielsa's that type of guy that he improves players. We've seen that every club he's been at, and we're seeing it with Leeds right now. As I said, like when we speak about Leeds before, some of them guys they're League One players, you know, and some of them are Championship players. And he's taken their games on leaps and bounds, and I think he'll do that with Dan James. And obviously, look, he's someone that can play right wing, left wing, or more left wing. I think personally, I think he could be a good right wing back, but I think he'll 100% improve under Bielsa. And Bielsa must see something he likes in him, because he nearly signed him. This is the second time he's gone in for him. So when a manager really wants you like that, and we know that Bielsa can coach, then I think he's going to improve him. But in terms for United, he was good potential, and if he was coached properly, he would have been a good squad player, a good impact player. But when you look at what we've got available, and he's another one that his best position probably is on the left wing. I think he could be a good right wing back, but we don't play like that. So his best position is left wing. We've got Rashford, we've got Martial, Lingard can play there, Sancho can play there now. Pogba's playing out there now as well. He's not going to get a game on the left. He can only play on the right. And at the moment, his game's not suited to playing there. So I think it's just good business, man. I didn't expect us to get 25 million for him, but I think it's a good sell. I think it's good for him. He'll get he'll play more or less week in, week out now. A better environment for him, probably. Knowing that you're going to play. So I think it's a good move for everyone.
Did you watch him much, T-Dot? I don't know if you had much of an impression. No. I mean, just because he's been in and out of the team, and obviously, I feel like you're going to know him better if either you support Wales or United. Otherwise, you might not really be watching him. But I'm just wondering if, from what you have seen of him, whether you feel like that's it now, like Leeds, and that'll be it, or if he can push on, or he's quite fortunate to get a move.
What Leeds is his level? Is that what you're saying? Leeds is probably his
with
level,
no disrespect, but just given Leeds' potential and how they do under Bielsa, what was your thoughts on the move?
We'll have to see, and I think you can't rule out that. I mean, Leeds, it's a step down slightly, I suppose, isn't it, in terms of statures of the clubs and stuff like that, but there's something to say that he can't go down to a Leeds and then come back up. I think he's got potential. I just think he's, like many players, have got to go elsewhere to find the right kind of path for them and then come back at a bigger club, like we've seen it happen to other players before. So I think it's a good bit of business for Leeds. I think it's really good business for, I didn't know that about United before you just said that, but it's a really good bit of business for Man United as well. So I think it's going to work all round. He'll get more game time, hopefully, at Leeds as well, which is something that he kind of was starved of at United at times as well. So we'll have to see, but I think it's a good move for everyone involved.
And it fits into, sorry to cut you quickly, it just fits into the last conversation, what we were talking about with Lingard, Van der Beek. I think when you know as a player, you're not going to play week in, week out, you're not really going to get opportunities off the bench, just go and back yourself. Drop down a couple notches and, play week in, week out, get coached and try and improve your game. And I think he's taking that risk. He could have just sat at United. I think, if we get knocked out and we get back in the Europa League or I'll play Carling Cup or FA Cup, he could have done that, but he wants to play. So I respect it.
No, I hear that. I think the fee, to be fair, he's a Welsh international who's played at the Euros. I can't remember how many games he's played for United. I imagine it's close to 100 games overall over the 2 seasons. I'd say it's closer to 150, probably around the sort of 70, 80 mark. So he's probably involved in 35. Like, he scored goals, scored in his debut. I think he's a very good player and probably made the move to a club like United too soon. I think if he'd gone to Leeds at that point, like he was going to go originally, I feel like he might even be moving in the opposite direction. But I think he technically, there are times he sort of struggles, like particularly with his accuracy with crossing and his decision making. But I feel like there's a good player in there, and I would not be surprised in about 2 or 3 years' time we're talking about him signing for a top 6 side. That play I'm thinking more of a Liverpool type team, not Liverpool per se, but I don't know, Tottenham, if they come back and play similar stuff to Poch, or thinking like Leicester, if they continue how they've been continuing, like he could definitely play for a top 6 side. Possibly a Chelsea if he does really well, like that a team that might play. Like, I can't really see him at City, for example. But I don't know. I think it's good business. I think that's probably how much he's worth, and I think his career at United has done well, considering he got thrown in at the deep end. Really, like, he wasn't expected to play that many games, and he's just basically told to go and make magic happen. And sometimes he did, but most of the time he didn't, and got slated for it.
He just needs to be coached.
Yeah,
I think it's as simple as that, man. Like, he's got all the raw capabilities, and he just needs to be refined, and he just needs to be coached. It's like when Lukaku went out to Inter. Obviously, it's not a comparison because Lukaku is already a top player, but he went there and they worked on certain things consistently with repetition, as we know, because Lukaku's obviously spoke about it. I think that's just the type of things that Dan James needs as well. But Bielsa's that kind of coach where he'll get you to practice the same things over and over again, and he will improve. Like what you said, like with the crossing, like with the running at players. I've watched little bits of their training sessions, and they do things like that. And look, he can already press. He's already aggressive in them situations. That's tailor made to how Leeds play. So I think he'll improve there, and Bielsa will get him to play different positions too. So I think it will work. I think it's a good move for him, man. He definitely needs to work with a high level coach like that at a team like Leeds.
I just wanted to ask, because we've only got 10 minutes or so left, but are either of you surprised that Liverpool haven't really done any business in terms of they've let a few? I think Shaqiri potentially is one of the ones that went. Obviously, they lost. What's his name? Gini Wijnaldum to PSG.
Yeah.
So, are you surprised that they haven't brought anyone in over this window, or do you think that what they've got there? Obviously, we spoke about Trent, Virgil van Dijk. Obviously, they've just got Henderson, and I think Salah's already signed their new deals with Alisson as well. So, do you feel like they've got enough still to compete, or are they still thin on the ground? I'll throw it out to Kieran first.
Yeah, I'm not surprised they got rid of players that they didn't really need in the squad. Shaqiri didn't really do much last season. I think Harry Wilson was the other noticeable departure aside of Wijnaldum, who left of his own accord. They needed to address the defence, which they've done. Van Dijk's back. Like, they can probably feel quite confident in the defence now. They've got two left backs and obviously Trent at right back. They've got solid goalkeeper. I think they're fine for this season. They basically had a rest last season. They didn't really do much. So, and a lot of their players didn't play over the summer, I think, as Jesse's mentioned. So they'll address that in January if they need to. But I think also as well, and again, I think Jesse's probably mentioned this, they sign a particular type of players for a particular fee. Like Alisson and Van Dijk were one-offs, so they were never going to sign players like that. And the players that they would be looking for at the fees that they've signed, they've done in Konate. So I don't think they can afford to break that. They've got a very specific structure, so it doesn't surprise me. Did they need something? Yeah, they could have done with a midfielder, but yeah, I don't know, but I'll sorry, I've stolen all your sound bites, Jesse, but I'm just agreeing with you in advance to say that I agree with what you've been talking. We're talking truth and facts, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, we've had them kind of conversations. Exactly that, really. Like, there's a particular type of fee that they like to pay between a certain amount, like they did for Jota, Salah, Firmino, and Mane, and they're not a club. And I think someone come out today actually from, I can't remember who it was, from Liverpool, but they said like they're not just going to sign players because fans demand signings. Like, they're going to sign the right type of players. No, but it makes sense though, because you're not just going to go out and sign players. Do
you still not think that they should still have that kind of mentality to sign the right players rather than sign just a player? Because
no, I agree with that, because United have done that. We've just signed players for the sake of it, and all that happens is you've got to go and sign another player in that position again after, And it's like we signed Dan James. Then we've gone to buy Diallo, and then we've ended up buying Sancho. So we spent a lot of money to get to Sancho when we could have just waited for Sancho. So it makes sense. And I think in midfield, I think they've got about 7 options in there. And now that they're using Elliott in the free as well, that's like Elliott, Milner, Henderson, Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Curtis Jones. So that's a lot of players in midfield. Thiago, sorry, I didn't even count Thiago. 7 players in there. So they probably were looking at strikers or forwards, but it didn't materialize. So they're not going to just sign players for the sake of it. And when you look at what's happening at Barcelona right now and some other clubs that have just signed players for the sake of it, maybe they're looking at that thinking, maybe there's no point, we can't get who we want, so we're not going to risk it, and maybe go again in the next window or next summer window.
Yeah,
I think their main issue. I thought the main issue was a centre back, and they got that. So it would have been. I think they did need someone in the front line, but if Elliott keeps up this kind of performances that he's putting in, and he can play in the front three as well, then they might get away with it.
I think he might suffer burnout, but we'll see. He's a very good player, but I remember going back a few years, and I think it was Sterling, and I remember he had to have a rest during one of the seasons under Brendan for that reason. But I agree with you. I think they've got enough there, but again, I keep saying this: COVID is a big thing. It's still here. If they lose one or two key players, or like you said, Kieran, they got to travel. They can't travel. They want to travel and they can't travel, or they do travel and then they have to come back and quarantine for 10 days. It kind of leaves them thin on the ground as well. And I don't think they can really wait till January, because by then, if they're 10 points, 15 points behind whoever's at the top, it's a long way to catch them up. I know they're capable of doing that, but you don't want to be playing that kind of game in January, trying to catch up whoever's first. But
you lot can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the only forward that they was linked to in this window was Mbappe. So I don't think they weren't
going to get him. No, that was just Liverpool fans gassing it up.
No, but that's my point. I don't think they weren't in for anyone. I don't think they wanted to sign anyone, because I can't even, apart from him, I don't know any other forwards that they were linked with.
No, it was just him, and obviously not a forward, but Tillmans. They were the only two that they were kind of linked with.
Yeah, and then Basuma. So he genuinely must be happy with what he's got in the front line, because they've not even been linked with one. So
I think this sorry, go on.
No, I'm just going to say very quickly, I think the other thing that teams are doing as well is they're looking at this situation in France and Italy and Spain. There's going to be quite a few players available in January, I feel, because a lot of these guys haven't really... Barcelona have shifted quite a few, but there's still going to be in a lot of issues. You're going to see a lot of cheap signings January, like a lot of guys available to shift so that they can make space for the summer. So I feel like quite a few clubs are waiting for that as well. And I feel that's where Liverpool might swoop, because they've got African Cup of Nations, I think, next January or February. So I feel that's when they're going to wait to swoop, when those other clubs are getting desperate. But sorry, Tito, what was you going to say?
No, I was just going to say around the deals for Saul to Chelsea, Griezmann and Luke de Jong to Barcelona.
Barca.
They're all relying on each other. All the paperwork, I think, has been signed.
I hope Chelsea pull out that Saul one. Screw Barcelona over.
It sounds like a crazy domino thing. So basically, every club is relying on each other to get their paperwork done in order to make sure the moves happen for every club. So that's going to be a bit of a last minute one. Whether they get that done, I don't know. There's literally 2 minutes left, or just over 2 minutes.
Griezmann back to Atletico, that's an interesting one, because it's like stranger, but they're basically they're giving a player to Atletico to secure the league again, like they did with Suarez. It's a bit of a strange one.
Well, they're saying now that the deal's stuck, so with Griezmann. So it's looking a bit peak for all three clubs, all three players involved.
They needed to shift him off the wage bill anyway, and I think that was the only place he wanted to go. And I think Atletico never wanted him to go in the first place anyway, so I think they'll happily bring him back. But
and the Barca fans hate him now as well.
Yeah, they blame him for Messi going, isn't it? But,
yeah, because he wouldn't take a pay cut.
Yeah, you're damn right. Yeah. Imagine taking a pay cut so someone else at your work can come.
Do you know what though? That's what you're saying is true in a normal situation, yeah. But when everybody else took a pay cut, like you're the only one that didn't.
I don't care. I'm the new guy. No.
Fair enough, man. There'll be daggers in your back. You have no friends in the changing room. No one sitting at the table with you in the canteen.
Do you know what I'll be saying? £1, £2, £3, £4. I'll be rich. I don't care, man. Are you ready? Don't play me. Don't pass you the ball.
It's going to be I think now that the fans are back in the ground as well, I think it's going to be a nightmare from this season. But we have to see what happens. Obviously, look, what you said is actually the truth, isn't it? I'm just playing devil's advocate, really, because literally everybody else, some of them have taken 2 or 3 pay cuts. So for you to be on the mad wages that you're on and you've not taken one, it's Gareth Bale stuff, isn't it? But
standards.
No, listen. I don't know what I would have done in that situation, to be honest with you. Alba and PK, they love the club, so I guess that's probably why they took a pay cut in it. I don't love no club like that. Do you know what I mean?
They're part of the issue anyway. You can blame Griezmann, but at the same time, these would have been like all the win bonuses and the wages. And Messi why is Messi on so much money? Why, if he really loved the club, why didn't he ask for less money to start with?
To be fair, he was making the club a lot of money as well. So the deal kind of paid for itself.
How was he making the club money? I know they were getting money from the tours and sponsors, but
no, sure,
they weren't winning nothing.
No, it's on Swiss Ramble. Like, if you calculate everything, what he's bringing to the club, it was like significant amount of their revenue coming in was because of Messi.
Yeah, and then they use that money to spend on Pjanic. If Messi was on less money,
that Pjanic one was crazy as well.
And Vidal and Dembele and
Dembele's on like 300 grand a week to play Fortnite. But Moise Keane as well
from his hospital bed.
Moise Keane back to Everton. Back to Juventus. Back to Juventus. That's a good deal, man. Because I think I said it in the group chat. He only left because Ronaldo was signing for the club, really, and he shouldn't have really went to Everton, man. In my opinion. So I see why.
I see why. Quick shout to I think Roma might take the league this season. They've been doing a few, and not just because of Abrahams, but even that like they looked quite good anyway.
Abraham, but I've watched their games, man. Games. They look decent.
They've got some ballers. Yeah, they've got some good players.
They always Jose, like they already had talented players there, like Pellegrini, Zaniolo. Obviously, both of them would have been in the Italy squad if they wasn't injured. So they got talented players. Obviously, added Abraham to it, Patricio in goal.
Yeah.
He's added the right little ingredients to what they already had.
Yeah.
So they'll be a threat, but I'm sure hasn't Inter started well, haven't they?
They have, but I feel like they might struggle with like Champions League. They've made a few good signings. I know they signed Dumfries. Obviously, they've got like Skriniar and is it Barella as well. They've got some good players, but I feel like it's gonna be very close.
And also, remember as well, Lazio done good business. Sarri's there, and
we know about Sarri and leagues, man. Like,
he's won the league now.
Yeah, so Football Manager, but
no, but he's won the league. He's won Serie A.
With Juve.
Won Serie A.
Yeah, with Juve. Yeah, that's like.
That's like what, a league title?
Yeah, but if you want Bayern, he'd win a league with Bayern.
Polo didn't do it.
No. I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but I don't see him going to a team that's not the top and winning the league. Because
but Lazio are better than Roma at the moment. So if we're saying that Roma can win the league, so can Lazio. That's my point.
Oh yeah, they can.
They're 100% at the moment.
So can Atlanta, but I think Roma might.
This is a topic for another day, man. Needs to be an Italian special or something because
we've gone off.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, transfer window done. Did Chelsea do it? Oh, we're not sure yet.
We don't know yet, man. Solomon Rondon's
I'll tell you,
free transfer.
just a quick one. I'll tell you a quick one. That guy in Spain, he works on that channel that does the Real Madrid stuff. Oh, I forgot his name, man.
Yeah.
But they done brilliant coverage of the Mbappe situation, and they had like a deadline. It was like tick tack, tick tack. Have you seen none of this footage? He done that thing about Hazard as well after the Chelsea game. You've not seen this guy?
Yeah, I've not seen it, man.
No. You tweet it, man. You have to tweet it and dash it in the chat.
No, I've tweeted it before.
I must have
anyway,
missed it,
his footage, his transfer coverage, and his coverage on anything that happens about Real Madrid is actually amazing. And now there's people that translate it into English now, anyway. So it's jokes, man.
No, that'll be a good one to watch. Well, I know we're gonna wrap up. So that was our deadline day special, first one. Hopefully not the last one, but good fun anyway. We'll see if Saul signs for Chelsea. Hopefully he will. But I'm sure the others will go through anyway. They always give the big clubs a few extra minutes anyway after the deadline. So I'm sure they'll push that one through. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's name is Josep Pedro.
You have to put it in the
I'll put it in the chat after,
comments.
man. But he's phenomenal.
Yeah,
He's actually phenomenal.
I'll have a look. But yeah, that's a wrap anyway for the transfer window. So yeah, basically, thanks for joining us. Obviously, send us your thoughts. Who had the best window? Who had the worst window? Are Arsenal going to get relegated? Are Chelsea going to do the treble this season? Because we know T. secretly, thinks this is going to happen. Obviously, let us know your thoughts. And yeah, obviously, tune in next week. See you later.